Hi guys, Squirrel here. Welcome to another episode of This May Contain Nuts, TMCN. This is the series where you ask questions around a theme, and I give you my thoughts, opinions, answers sometimes on your questions. Now, the current theme for this particular episode is life lessons stroke life advice. So questions based around life lessons and life advice. You guys submitted your questions. Thank you very much for that from the last episode. If you want to submit a question for the next episode of TMCN, the subject or theme will be space. Space. I feel like we should have an epic voice. Space. Suggested by SGT Ghost. Thank you for that. If you want to submit a question on the subject of space, and that can be anything you like, you need to go in the video description. There's a link in there. And if you click that link, it'll take you to a Google form. And on that form, you can put your question in and also suggest another theme. At the end of your question, put theme, colon, and then whatever you're suggesting is a theme. So click on the video description link, take you to a form, ask your question on the theme of space, and if you want to suggest a new theme, do so at the end of your question. And I just saw vehicles disappearing behind us, which is pretty interesting because that piece of road really shouldn't have vehicles going down it at all, should it? So that's obviously a mapping problem. Where are we, you might ask? Well, we're in a place called Oulu, which is in Finland. Finland, all the way up north of Finland. Today we're going to be taking a job down to Turku. I think it's some logs that we're taking today. We've got the Saisu or Sisu, not really sure how you pronounce this. Look at the coach, just disappears. We're in the Sisu, I think it's called. It's basically based on a Renault chassis. They don't base them on Renaults anymore, they're based on Mercedes-Benz, but the mod's not caught up with that fact yet. So this is it's quite a nice truck, to be honest, but it is basically a Renault chassis underneath. Somebody told me the translation of that word, Sisu. It means something like, not hardcore, it means it's built for toughness, that kind of thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and fill up because we're pretty low on fuel here. In fact, let's jump back in the cab because that rain is quite noisy. There we go. Right, 38 Ks to drive, apparently, to pickup point. Let's reset the track IR. And I think we can get away with not using full lights at the moment. Where's my shifter? There we go. Shifter wasn't going into the H. I've got my little Garmin on the right there. Let's turn that off. I've got a couple of dogs. I like riding with the little dogs. Let's put the lights on here. Sorry, not lights, the wipers. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put the full lights on. Just in case the game decides I should be driving with lights on. I have also got a traffic mod, which is why you'll see a fair amount of traffic as well. Also, I'm sure we're going to see some strange things with traffic, as we always do. But yeah, this truck, if you want to drive it, it's in the mod spreadsheet. Just search the mod spreadsheet for Sisu. You'll soon find it. Okay, indicators. The only thing that's slightly annoying, I think, is the indicator sound. Like, it is ridiculously frequent and a little bit clicky. I don't like it, but the rest of it's okay. There's not a massive amount you can do with the interior. To be honest, this is RGLs, by the way, so if you want the interior mods, if you want to use the interior decorations, you'll need to get the RGL interior mod as well. Which is, this mod actually is in the Steam Workshop. And when you subscribe to it, there's also a link to his interior decoration thing as well, if you have the interior DLC. So being in Finland, you guys, if you watch the My Summer Car series, you're no stranger to Finland dirt tracks and trees. It really is like this quite a bit in Finland. But it's kind of interesting to see the Eurotruck vision of it rather than the My Summer Car vision of it. Incidentally, My Summer Car now has now added a train. They finally added the train, so watch out for that. What the heck? Was that a moose or something? Oh dear. Uh-oh, wasn't expecting traffic the other way, to be honest. For some reason I had it in my head this might have been a one-way road. So yeah, we've got an E. Olsen Transport skin on. These are also available from the Steam Workshop, linked via the mod. I've also got a spring mod installed as well. As you can see, the little flowers and stuff that you'll see, very colourful lavender and this kind of thing going on. It's a spring mod. I got rid of my winter mod because, well, spring's on its way, isn't it, basically? Well, at least it is in Europe. Oh, we're going this way. I almost missed my turn off. Which gives us brighter weather, a bit more rainy. Trees that are starting to grow the leaves back. And then there's kind of, you know, flowering bushes and fields that you'll see as well. Where you would normally see a field with sunflowers in it, you'll now see a field full of lavender. It's quite nice looking, actually. It's a rather nice kind of twitch purple, almost. Well, this is certainly a place to do logging, isn't it? Good grief. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at all the stumps. Blimey. Deforestation. I wonder if they're going to replant them. They must have so many trees in Finland, good grief. Here we are. Let's get up to the barrier. I, of course, have the barrier mod, which mostly works. Like, as you can see, it works pretty well. There are a few pickup points where it goes a little bit silly. It doesn't work very well. Like, the barrier will be in the wrong place. But most of the time, it works. Right, freight market. We'll take that. And the pickup point is... Now, do we get to that this side, or do we drive around? It looks like we drive around. Do we reverse around, or do we go that way? One sec. Let's just get out of my truck. Okay. In that case, we're going to reverse this way. I want to stick my head out the window, I'm getting a bit wet though. Now I've got advanced coupling turned on, so I need to line it up properly. It's all clear that side. It's not a bad little pickup point this, is it? It's quite nice. There are actually deliveries from here as well of empty pallets. So you can either get logs or you can get empty pallets. So it's nicely themed. Right. A little bit that way. Hoping that's about right. I don't think that's clicked in. No, it's not. Oh, it's not liking that. Not liking that at all, is it? I think I'm slightly off. Let's try going that way a touch. There we go. A little bit aggressive, but we got there. Okay, so that is our delivery right there. Long vehicle. I have got some beacons, but I don't think we need them for this. It might be long, but it's not ultra wide or over heavy. Let's get on the road, and let's start answering some questions. As I say, the theme is life advice. So, there were some pretty interesting questions. There were a few people asking roughly the same thing, so... If I didn't answer your specific question, but it's very similar, then I literally picked the first one. Let's get through this barrier. Some of the barriers, like the gates as well, open towards you or open away from you. And this particular one, the barrier goes up and down. Cool. Let's go. Right, first question is from Rene Moreau. He says, in your experience, is it better to Carpe Diem, seize the moment? Actually, Carpe Diem is seize the day, I think. Is it better to seize the day or give a little thought? Well, that's an interesting question to start with. Do you live for the moment, or do you sort of think things through a little bit? Now, do you want my thoughts on that, or what I've done, or do you want what I think you should do? I think I think you need a balance of both, if I'm perfectly honest. You know, if you try to pre-think everything in life, you're gonna fail. You're like, there's a lot of things that you can plan ahead for, but there's many things that just happen on the spur of the moment. You know, and you need a bit of both in your life, because otherwise, if you try and think everything through and pre-plan it, you'll end up like pretty boring life, I think. If you need to maintain a certain amount of spontaneity, I would suggest that remain spontaneous on the smaller things if you can, and try to plan the bigger decisions a little bit. Wow, Renault let me out. What a surprise. What a surprise. Obviously recognise the heritage of the truck. Yeah, you know, if you're talking about say mortgages, investment, pensions, any of the big kind of life-changing long-term things, sure, you got to think that through. But if you're talking more about, should I have dark or light chocolate for ice cream after dinner? Be spontaneous, you know. But there are many things you'll find that just end up spontaneous anyway. Sometimes, you know, you'll meet a girl, say, for example, or if you're a girl, you meet a boy, and spontaneous things will happen. Should we go here? Yeah, why not? Let's just go to Alton Towers. Let's just go and have some fun today. Yay! Off we go. Be spontaneous. I didn't plan to do that this morning, but why not? So I'd suggest that you need to do both. You can't just do one or the other, Rene. I hope that answers your question, I think. I think it did. Anyway, next question is from Silver Fennekin. Silver Fennekin says, what would you say is the best way to prepare for an interview? Uni or job interview? What would you say is the best way to prepare for an interview? Now, I've done both sides of this. I've been obviously an interviewee, a candidate, a number of times, and I've also interviewed quite a few people as well, so I can give you a little bit of insight into both sides of this, because as ever in a lot of things in life, there are actually two sides to the coin. Alright, let me just get through this junction. He's going left. That's clear. Good to go. Cool. That trailer almost hit him, but never mind. Right, so in terms of interviews, there are certain things that you've got to tick off. The basics, right? You've got to get the basics right. First impressions count. They always do. People may say don't judge a book by its cover, but at the end of the day, first impressions definitely count. When you step into that interview room and the interviewer or interviewers first catch eyes on you, within the first 30 seconds, they're going to make some judgments about you. Now, like it or lump it, that's what's going to happen. That's just human nature. So make sure that you've got the first impressions right. Smile, right? You've got to smile. You might be nervous as hell, but smile. Appear happy, like you want to be there. There's nothing worse from an interviewer's perspective than having a candidate that kind of just drags him or herself through the door, sits down, acts like they don't really want to be there. You just think, what have you come for? What's the point? So, find out the dress code as well. Like, ask the person who arranges the interview what the dress code is. Is it smart casual or is it smart? You know, or is it just casual? Whatever it is, err on the side of caution. If you don't know what the dress code is, just assume it's smart and wear a suit. Yeah? Because if you turn up for an interview in a suit, nobody's ever going to think badly of you. They might think you're a bit overdressed, but they're never going to think badly of you. If you turn up in your jeans and a scruffy t-shirt, well, it may not always work out. So get those basics right. Find out about the company. Yeah? Find out about the company and the position. Find out a little bit more about what they do. Find out what the role involves. That'll give you a few things. It will make you appear like you've read ahead, that you're interested in the job, that you're interested in the company, you've found out a little bit about the culture, you know about the position, and when you go there, it will also give you more questions to ask at the end, which is something else you need to have. So basically inform yourself, get informed, and then put that across during the interview whenever you can. And that way they'll be really impressed, because they'll think, wow, this person's actually taken the time to find out about us and about the position. This is great. And that'll set you up ahead of everybody else. But make sure you've got some questions ready, because at the end of the interview, you know, you pretty much should always be asked, have you got any questions for us? If you don't get asked that question, you can be pretty worried, because either you haven't got the job and they don't care, or you've got a fairly bad interviewer. They always should be asking you, what, you know, have you got any questions? Make sure you have some. When I've said that in an interview, have you got any questions? And they sort of look at the floor and go, not really. I'm like, okay. Does that mean you just don't want this job, or you know, you just didn't prepare yourself? You know, or at least you just have some ready, even if they're just generic ones, but try to get some specific ones, and some will often come up through the interview. You know, you sort of say, oh yeah, earlier you said blah 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 blah, what about, or what if? You know, they'll be thinking, great, he's actually paying attention to what we're saying as well. It's all plus points. So that's what I would say. Interviews are pretty stressful, there's no doubt about it. Some people just seem to get into interviews and just fly through them. It's the same thing with presentations. Some people can just do it, they have a knack for it. They don't get phased by it, they're not nervous, and they can perform really well during an interview. Doesn't necessarily mean they can do the job, it just means they can perform during an interview. And you get the opposite, you get people who are actually really capable and would be really good at the job, but they're just so nervous that they can't put themselves across very well. There's no really easy way around that, unfortunately. The more interviews you go to, the easier it does get. But make sure you get rest the day before. Make sure you're ready for the interview. Always get there 10 or 15 minutes early. Don't get there like half an hour early, right? That's not a good thing either. Get there like 15 minutes early. Get yourself settled down. Have a drink of water or whatever, and prepare yourself for the interview. Don't mull on it. You know, if you come out and it's a bad experience, then just think to yourself, well, you know, okay, what can I learn from this? What did I do wrong? You know, analyze what happened and think, what can I do next time so that I might, you know, increase my chances of getting this job or getting a job. So whenever, you know, whenever things go badly, always reflect on it and just learn from it, is what I would suggest. Hope that answers your question, Silver Finnegan. Next one comes from Callum Sahan, I think it is. Callum Sahan. Well, I feel like I'm going too fast to spend. Oh no, it's okay. Callum says, I'm 15 and about to take my final GCSE exams. I've been playing the drums since I was 4 and I want to make a career out of it. My parents don't think it's a good path to take. How much advice should I take from my parents, and should I follow my dream? Now then, I suggest there's an awful lot of people who probably are very interested in the answer to this question, because they're either been through it or are experiencing it right now, either from a childhood or from a parental perspective. Again, this happens to be something that I've experienced from both sides. So first of all, let me kind of give you a little bit of background into what I experienced when I was growing up, and then I'll sort of give you my thoughts on how you should think this through. So I did have a few questions that were similar to this one. Growing up, when you're growing up, particularly during your teenage years, you basically change from being somebody that has had all of your decisions made for you into the transition to becoming an adult where you make your own decisions. Fundamentally, that's what's happening. You don't realize it really when you're a teenager, but that's what's going on. You spent your life being told what to do, and now you're kind of given free rein as you become an adult to make your own decisions. Now, some parents recognize this and some parents don't. Okay, that's the first thing to say. And some parents have really good advice to offer you, and some parents are a little bit traditional, stick in the mud, and don't offer you good advice. It is difficult for both parties during this kind of period where you're growing up, so you've got to bend and flex a little bit. Mostly, parents do have your interests at heart, okay, and they will try to give you good advice. They always think they're giving you good advice, no matter whether they're giving you good advice or not. They always think it's good advice. Okay? It could be bad advice, but they think it's good. in my particular case, when I was sort of lining myself up to go to university, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do at university. And I'd more or less narrowed it down to a couple of things. It was either going to be electronic engineering or it was going to be computer science. Okay? Now, bear in mind that my mum knew pretty much next to nothing about either of those subjects. Yet for some reason she thought that I should be doing electronic engineering. I don't know why. I think it was more to do with the universities that I had down for electronic engineering as opposed to the universities that I had down for computer science. I think it was more of a case of which universities you wanted me to go through rather than which subjects you wanted me to do. But nevertheless, my mum tried to strong-arm me into doing electronic engineering. And I was the one that had been to these universities, and I was the one that had been interviewed by them, and I was the one who had to make a decision about my own future and what I was going to study for the next 3 years. And given that backdrop, I pushed back. It was one of the defining moments, if you like, in my life when I properly pushed back against my mum and said, no, I am not doing that. I am not doing what you want me to do. I am going to do this other thing. This is what I want to do. This is what I believe is right for me. Now, my mum being my mum and the kind of person that she was, she more or less didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. And that kind of parenting is utterly insane. It really is. But that's the kind of parent that she was. It's a kind of a silent, passive-aggressive style of parenting, and it's horrible. And it does no good. It just creates stress and anxiety. But that's another story. The point is, she tried to get me to do what she wanted to do. I pushed back and I said no. And not only do I not regret that decision, but it was the best decision I ever made, because I later realized that I was hopeless at electronics. I would have failed. I would have flopped out. I would have been confused and wouldn't have known what I was doing. And as it happens, computer science, I just absolutely took off with and excelled at. So it was the right decision. Now, I'm not saying to you, Callum, I'm not saying to you that you should definitely go and do drumming. I'm not saying that. But what you need to understand as well is when you make your own decisions, okay, you also take responsibility for them. So if you decide to make this decision and say, right, I'm going to ignore what my parents say and I'm going to pursue drumming, right? That's fine. But always accept that you made the decision, and if it works out, fantastic. You did the right thing. If it doesn't work out, don't blame your parents. Blame yourself, okay? You chased your dream, it didn't work out. You only have yourself to blame. That's what comes with making decisions. The responsibility comes with it. So although it's fantastic that you don't have to make your own decisions when you're young, you don't have to deal with the consequences and responsibility of it either. When you're older and you make that decision, you got to take it on the chin, if it works out or if it doesn't. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just kind of giving you some thoughts and advice on how you should go about making that decision. I hope that answered your question, Callum. Are we getting off on this lane or not? What the heck is going on here? I think we're going straight on. Yeah, we are. The line goes really thin on the sat-nav. That's really confusing. Right, next question. Stephen Buckley. Hello, Paul. My question is, what is the weirdest life experience that you have encountered? And if you could time travel, what would you do to counteract it? Blimey. The weirdest life experience I think I've ever had. I think I was on holiday. I was 17. I was with my friend. We were both 17. I was on holiday. It was night time, about midnight. We were wandering around the grounds in the hotel. You know, it's like 25 Celsius outside. It's lovely and warm. T-shirt weather. Midnight. The sky is clear. There are just a billion stars in the sky. We're all walking around just enjoying ourselves, trying to cool down. And we just kind of stopped. We kind of stopped and looked up at the sky, the night sky, going, look at that, it's amazing. And then something really weird happened. I clapped eyes on a star that wasn't really a star. It was like a point light source that was moving across the sky, and I was like, what is that? To my friend, and he's like, I don't know, what is it? It's like a shooting star or something. And we're watching it, and it's moving along, and then it stopped. Like, hang on a minute. Like, shooting stars don't do that. It can't be an aircraft, because aircraft don't do that either. It was literally sat there. And we're going, okay, this is weird. It's actually not moving. It's just sat there high up in the sky, like, not moving. And at the same time, we looked around and we realised that all the little insects that were making lots of little noises were suddenly not making any noises. It had gone deathly quiet. And it also felt quite cold. Which I don't know if that was just getting the chills, probably was, but it was all very strange. And then we looked at the sky and saw this thing, and it sat there, and we're like, okay, this is weird now. And then all of a sudden, it just shot off. It literally just went boom out the sky and shot off. And that is, I'm not a superstitious guy, right? I don't believe in alien life forces or alien life beings visiting us from outer space or any of that. But to this day, I haven't forgotten that, and I can't explain it. And that is why it is the weirdest life experience that I've ever had. I still have no idea. I remember what I saw quite clearly. I remember what I felt quite clearly, but I cannot explain that rationally. And it bugs me. But that's my weirdest experience. Stephen Buckley, aka Stee. Next question from Rhys Evans, or Rhys Evans, I should say. Hang on, let me slow down. This pen's getting a little bit tight. Rhys Evans says, how do you maintain a healthy relationship with your significant other? Okay, how do you maintain a healthy relationship with your significant other? I'll let you know when I work that one out. But but in all seriousness, me and the missus, we've been together for a while. And we're still together. If you ask me, am I a different person from when she first met me, or is she a different person from when I first met her? Yes, we're different. We're still fundamentally the same person, but we're definitely different. I'm definitely different, she's definitely different. So how do you maintain a healthy relationship? I think flexibility is the key. Flexibility. Both of you are changing. You always will. It won't stop. You've got to grow together, I think. You've got to adapt to change. You've got to adapt to each other. There are times when she absolutely drives me nuts. There are times when I drive her nuts. There are times when we have arguments. But we're still together, because at the end of the day, we resolve our differences, and that's the important thing, is you've got to be able to settle differences of opinion. If you can't, then it's not going to work out. And the other thing is, I think, try to maintain some kind of common interest. You know, even if it's like, I don't know, a series, like TV series that you love, or a hobby that you've got, even if it's like walking the dog, I mean, just something common that that you can do together. That helps. So that's more or less how I do it, I think. Although I have to say, she's probably more flexible than I am. You know, she tends to flex more. There are things that she always pushes back on, but she's quite a flexible person, I think. I've learnt to be more flexible through her, observing her, I think. And that's the other thing I reckon is, okay, dude, what the had to happen, didn't it? It just had to. You know, there's drivers like that in real life, to be fair. Let's have a look at the truck. What does she look like? Oh yeah, it's pretty good, doesn't it? Let's get back in before I ever crash. So, Rhys, I hope that answers your question. That's kind of how I've done it, I guess. Yashmore, next question. Yashmore says, hey Squirrel, What was a frustrating part in your life, and what lesson did you learn from it? Hope you answer my question. Love from India. The most frustrating part of your life, and what did you learn from it? The most frustrating part of my life probably came after university, I think. I left university, I was all fired up, you know, I'd got my degree, computer science, come on, let's take the world on. Let's change the world through software, you know. Typical kind of young thinking, let's change the world, yeah. And then you suddenly find yourself in a job, and it's not quite as glamorous as you thought it would be. You're still the junior coder, even though you're probably more qualified. You're still the junior coder there. You're given all the dull projects to do initially. And it's just not what you thought it was going to be. You had this vision in your mind about how you're going to be just changing the world via an editor, and it didn't happen. I ended up working on these projects, writing little business systems and stuff for companies, and it was like, alright, it's nice. It's not really floating my boat though. And I think I stuck it out longer than I should have done. I think I stuck it out mostly because of university debt. You know, I came out of university with debt. And I had bills to pay. You know, I had a credit card bill, I had student loans, I had all these debts hanging over my head, and I needed the money. I had to keep my job, so I kind of stuck it out. I was afraid to change job. I didn't have the experience. That's the other thing about jobs, is it often goes off experience. How many years have you got doing this? And I think I stuck it out. I probably wasted about 2 or 3 years doing that. I think there was a recession as well. So jobs were pretty scarce. There weren't many out there. People were just kind of holding on to what they had. And yeah, after a few years, I eventually fought my way out of it. I think it was sheer determination and courage that made me quit my job one day and go for it, and I never looked back. But I do have some regrets that I wasted a few years of my life working for some, you know, like 2-bit organizations, and I should have got out earlier. So yeah, you can't get that time back. Next question, Briazon88. On the subject of life advice, I'm currently about to move my family across the country for work. Having done it yourself, how easy was it to adjust, and what did you find to be the hardest? So, the first thing I'd say is, because you're moving with your family, it's going to be easier. You've already got your rock. You're taking your rock with you. First time I moved was to go to university, and it's the first proper time I'd stayed away from home, really. And it was difficult. I just found myself in the middle of Sheffield with no family and no friends, and you very quickly have to make friends. People gel together very, very quickly in the first week of university. And I didn't like that at all. It was very, very unnerving. In this particular case, and when I eventually moved down towards London, I did it with my wife. So I had family with me again this time. So it's easier. It's easier when you move with your family. You're taking your rock with you. You've got the solid base. You know, even when you go to work and you don't know anybody, you can always come home to something familiar. And that counts for quite a lot, I think. So I think you'll be fine. You know, obviously you're going to make some friends, but you can take your time a little bit, to be honest. It's not as bad as you think. You know, your family will gel together. When you suddenly find yourself in the big unknown, your family will gel together. So it won't be so bad. But yeah, make friends is the key. Make friends fast. Get your wife to make friends. You make work colleagues. You know, go out for some drinks with some people at work. That's how you generally get to know people anyway. And you'll be fine, I think. Garrett Thompson with the next question says, hello Paul, since you've gone through high school and college, what are your best advice you could give for studying? Wow, okay. How long have we got left? 87 Ks. Studying. Well, one of my daughters is currently studying as well, A-levels, so she's, doing advanced level studies. Eliminate distractions. I feel sorry for young people. There are so many distractions now. Mobile phones are the biggest, absolute biggest distractor you could possibly have in your life. Turn it off. Turn the mobile phone off. Turn the iPad off. Create yourself a revision schedule, but don't focus on the study hours. Focus on the areas that you want to study. Don't focus on the time you spend studying. Don't kid yourself by saying, "Oh, I've done 4 hours revision like for the last 3 nights. I'm great. Yeah, I've done 12 hours. Woof." Don't think of it that way. It's ridiculous. You'll be clock watching as well. It's not what time you spend studying. It's what you study. You've got to work out what areas you're weak in, and you've got to study at that. Now, some homes are really impossible to study in. Like, if you've got siblings and they're busy, you know, playing on the Xbox or got the music up, it's very hard to study. You're going to have to work around that. Some homes are quiet, some homes are loud and noisy. You're going to have to work around it. Use the resources you've got. Use the library if you need to. Go down there and study. It's quiet. Use your grandma's house, you know. Stay after school and go and study in the school library. Get an extra hour or 2 in there where you can be, you know, in a peaceful environment. Whatever you've got, make it work. Some people are fortunate to have a quiet house and a nice quiet room to study. Some people are not. You've got to work with what you've got. You know, we're all dealt a different hand in life, but it's how you play your cards that matters. So just work with what you've got. If there's nice weather outside and your friends are asking you to go out and play, or asking you to go on the Xbox and shoot things, keep your goals in mind. Decide what's important for you. If it's more important to you that you get good exam grades than you play some games, focus on that. Just keep one eye on the vision. Yeah. Lawrence says, what are your tips for dealing with burnout while working in software development? Well, burnout, I don't think burnout is unique to software development. But it is, you know, it used to be fairly common. I suspect it still is in places. But burnout happens when you're pushed too hard for too long. That's the bottom line. Now, deadlines are deadlines. There'll always be deadlines. Always be deadlines. There'll always be projects with deadlines. You can't get rid of that. And bosses are always going to push you for more and more. That's a given. Please don't pull out on me. I had visions. Bosses are always going to ask you for more. You can't sprint all the time. By definition, you can't sprint all the time. You've got to rest. If your bosses don't understand that concept, seriously, get your CV ready and get moving. Because if they're just going to push you regardless of your health, then you don't want to be there. I've seen people let their health get destroyed by stress and burnout. And it wasn't just in software development. They ignored the signs, they thought the job was more important than their health, and they paid a severe price for it. Don't let that happen. No job is worth your health at the end of the day. If your boss can't deal with you needing rest and an R&R and time off, well, just move. Just go and find a different job, even if it's paid a bit less. Because if you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything. You can't earn money anyway. So you'll be taking a pretty big pay cut if you let your health get wrecked. That is a really annoying place for a sign. Okay, I think we're clear. See if we can get another quick question in. Jaden Davis, Mr. Nice Guy, can you tell me how hard it was to get over your father's death? I'm 11 years old now. Jaden, for me... sad story, really. My dad basically left when I was 10. So, he was an alcoholic, and he met a woman at a pub that used to give him drinks, and he left when I was 10. I didn't see him for about 5 or 6 years. I saw him briefly again, didn't see him again for another 5 or 6 years. I didn't really have a relationship with him. So, you know, at the end, about a year before his death, I went to see him, and, you know, we kind of patched things up a bit. I forgave him, which is the reason I wanted to go there and just sort things out. I didn't want it hanging over us. But he'd already wrecked his health completely with cigarettes and smoking. So when he did die, it didn't really affect me because I didn't really know him. It was all just a bit sad, to be quite honest with you. This gate is going to get in my way big time. Oh boy, don't think this is going to work, you know. Is that going to come? No. Don't really want to get a fine from that guy. but I've got a feeling it's going to happen. I hate the way the trucks just... I hate the way the AI just does that. It closes up on you. So yeah, Jaden, it's a bit of a sad story, but for me, it wasn't an issue. Oh my god. What I need to do is go down the road and do this properly. I have to find somewhere to turn around, I think. I wasn't paying enough attention, was I? Oh well, we'll get another question in. Krish, really enjoying the content, Paul. My question is, what would be the most crucial piece of advice that was conveyed from your parents, which you still use until this day? Well, this is going to sound crazy now. I don't remember any crucial advice from my parents. I don't remember my mum giving me any crucially useful advice. She tended to give me, thinking back, just advice that was just her way of thinking, which looking back I just don't agree with her way of thinking. So she didn't give me anything good in that respect. And as for my dad, well, as I've already explained, he was an alcoholic, so he wasn't exactly making good life choices, and didn't really offer any good advice. I just realised that I'd have to get back on the highway, so I've just taken liberties and done a U-turn. No, don't hit the truck. I don't want to get a fine. I wanted to avoid the fine. Wow, somehow I got away without a fine. That's insane. My dad was an anti-role model. What do I mean by that? Basically, as I grew up, and I look back at how he'd lived his life, smoking, alcoholism, adultery, he was never at home, always down the pub, I pretty much decided that I was going to be the opposite of that. He wasn't a role model, he was an anti-role model. That's the way I saw things, and I was determined not to be like that. So I didn't take any good advice from my parents. I did take some anti-advice from my dad. What are we turning in here? But yeah, I think the one thing that was tricky to do was being at home. Like, trying to be at home more. I worked in London, long hours and stuff, and just trying to be home more was not easy. But other than that, I've managed to not do any of the things he did. Come on, we can do it this time, hopefully. Marcos, hello Paul, do you have any advice for people that are coming out of sixth form college and don't really know what they want to do in future? Blimey. This is a common one, isn't it, eh? Find what you're good at. We're all good at something. Find what you're good at. If you haven't found what that is yet, keep looking. Try and expose yourself to different things, yeah? Like, don't sit in your bedroom and just think, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. You're never going to find out in your bedroom, yeah? You're more likely to find out if you go trying different things, if you go meet different people. There's just a myriad of possibilities in this world. There are things that you've never even thought of. Opportunities just come your way all the time if you put yourself out there and let them happen. And suddenly, one day, something will present itself and you'll be like, I want to do that. I actually like doing this, and look at that, I'm good at this. I can do it. Bingo. That's when you just found yourself. You found your calling, as it were. Let's hand that in. Excelente! And I managed to avoid the fines. How much money did we get? 28 grand, 900. Hey, level 67! Ding ding! Blimey. Level 67, not bad. I think we'll take one more question from Matt. Just got time as I pull up over here somewhere. Actually, let me just see where we are. I don't think we're anywhere near a town, are we? Oh, hang on. We're just outside of Turku. Let's drive down to... there. Let's go and park up down there and answer one last question. I hate it when there's logs on the floor like this at these places. I really wish they'd just clean them up. Now if we stop here, it should open the gates towards us. Works perfectly well. Last question I think from Matt. Hello Squirrel, have you had a set of rules? Have you ever had a set of rules to live by? And if so, have these rules helped you out in a bad situation? Okay, have you ever had a set of rules to live by? No. I haven't, to be honest with you. I don't have a set of rules. There is no rule book on how to live life. You know, life is a very fluid, dynamic thing. And I think you've always got to be constantly adapting. If you try to live life by rules, you're either going to fail or it's going to be super boring. I think what I have is a pretty good moral compass, which is something I've tried to convey to my kids, a sense of right and wrong. You know, I've always pointed out to them if they're being selfish or if they're treating people badly or in a selfish way. I've always pointed out to them if they're beating themselves up too much, or they've got a right to be sad, or they've got a right to be happy, or you know what I mean? Just trying to give them a moral compass so that they can guide themselves in their own way through life. And I think that's what you need to do. I think we're all learning, all of us. We never stop learning. About ourselves, about other people, about how to deal with people, about how to treat situations, about how to overcome problems. You know, as you get older, you start to learn how to deal with death of family members and things like this. Like you know, grandparents might pass away, that kind of thing. You realise that we're all infallible. Sorry, we're not infallible. I think that's the right word. We're all fallible. We're not infallible. And we all make mistakes. You know, we're all kind of struggling. The important thing, I think, is to just kind of surround yourself with people, the right kind of people, you know, people that you can trust, people that you can respect, people that you can learn from, people that have a decent moral compass that aligns with yours, you know. The only tragedy, I think, is when you make mistakes and then repeating them. Like, if you repeat mistakes, you didn't learn from them. And that's the only tragedy there is. But I don't really have a set of rules now. I just kind of winging my way through life. Like most people, I think. Where is this parking spot? Apparently down here on the right somewhere. There's a mechanic just behind that building, I think. So that was a final question from Matt. There it is. Oh, even this has got a barrier on it. Sometimes the barrier can become a little bit... I kind of wish the barrier mod... you probably can't do this. But if it could just be here during evenings and nighttime, and perhaps be up during the day, that would be nice. That way you get the best of both worlds, you know? You turn up in the day and everything's open and the barrier's up, turn up at night and the barrier's down, but you can still get in. That'd be kind of cool. Or park next to a DAF. That is it for another episode of TMCN. I hope you enjoyed those questions. Thank you very much for sending them in. Like I say, the next theme is the subject space. If you want to ask a question, just have a look at the link in the video description. And if you have got a theme to suggest, put the word theme at the end and just suggest your theme. Until the next episode, guys, take care. Happy trucking.